I'm Steving it. Oh, I'm Steving it. Oh, chicken jockey. Come bucket. Really?
Movies are failing. Surprise, surprise. With the amount of box office flops in recent memory, and the rise of streaming and slow death of physical media, this comes as no shock.
Other breaking news. Water. Wet.
But more specifically, new original movies are failing. I'm not the first one to say this, obviously. There are dozens of articles and others on this website covering the same topic for years at this point. Hell, I made a video just like this a few years ago. So I'm not necessarily saying anything new. So I guess this video acts as like a follow-up to my previous, because I'm still surprised that not only are original movies not doing that well, but they're kind of doing worse. Now, when I say original in this context, I mostly mean non-franchise films or movies not attached to a pre-existing film series. Of course, nothing is wholly original. Something is always inspired by something else. In reality, just about everything is a derivative of a derivative when you really break it down. If you try to make something wholly original, you'll be restarting over and over again and never get it done. So it's all about what new ideas you bring to the table and the execution. So when I say original in this context, I mean it's not attached to an existing movie franchise. Hope that makes sense, because that's how I'm going to be using it for the rest of the video. Anyway, we've seen a plethora of new movies just underperforming or flat out tanking at the box office. Off the top of my head, we got Mickey 17, Black Bag, The Amateur, Death of the Unicorn, and Novocaine. And that's just so far this year. If you take a look at last year, we had the likes of The Fall Guy, Boy Kills World, Ministry of Ungentlemanlike Warfare, and Killer's Game all flopping as well. I'm leaving out a lot, but these are really just the ones I'm rattling off the top of my head. Sure, there are a few doing okay, or even quite well. A Working Man with Jason Statham actually did pretty good overall in comparison to its budget. But that seems to be the exception, because the vast majority of new original films aren't doing that well. Kind of funny, I just did a video talking about movies that shouldn't have flopped, and it seems that we now have some new contenders to add to that list. But this creates an interesting topic because for the longest time, a lot of people have been saying they're tired of sequels, remakes, and reboots and want something new. They're tired of comic book films, tired of sequels and prequels and remakes of films from 20 to 40 years ago. They want something new and fresh. This is what I've been hearing for a while at this point. But when looking at the numbers, it just doesn't add up. It appears that a majority of people are saying one thing and then doing another. I mean, let's look at it this way. More people saw that terrible Snow White movie than Mickey 17 and Novocaine, or that Captain America movie that many people didn't like. It's considered a failure from Marvel, but it literally made more money than all the other movies I listed at the very beginning of this video combined. I'm not bullshitting that either. I actually did the math and added it up. All these films combined made less money than Captain America Brave New World. Oh, and how could I forget to mention the Minecraft movie? It's literally the biggest movie of the year so far. So the new movies are just getting absolutely curb stomped. So when just looking at the raw numbers, not that many people are seeing them. So why is it on one hand, people say they're tired of this old stuff and they want something new, but on the other, they aren't actually going out and supporting these new things when they do get released? I mean, there's a few different reasons. The biggest one is familiarity. You're more than likely willing to spend money or watch something if you have an idea of what it is, or if it's related to something that you liked in the past. It's just how we're wired, it seems. Studios know this, and that's why they continue to pump them out. But another big factor is marketing. People barely see anything about these new films, so they have no idea they even existed. I mean, look at Lionsgate recently. That company is literally going under as we speak. And if you look at the films they put out this past year, they push the ones that are connected to pre-existing IPs that people actually recognized, while all the other stuff that they were funding got pushed to the wayside and forgotten about, resulting in them flopping. And these two factors apply even more to general audiences. The casual moviegoer who's going to be seeing one or two movies all year is going to gravitate towards what's familiar and what they've been seeing advertised online. But the biggest statement I've been seeing is that studios aren't making new films. Every year there are less and less original movies and more of the same stuff getting released. So there just aren't many options, which does have some validity to it. A while ago, Matt Damon mentioned this on Hot Ones. He says the death of physical media also plays a role in studios investing less into new movies, since for a while, DVDs and home release will provide a second wave of income to help the movie make its money back if it underperformed at the box office. But now, studios don't really have that thanks to the rise of streaming, so there's more risk involved. Seth Rogen also mentioned that studios need to support new ideas, and even Adam Devine mentioned how hard it was to get comedies made and how they're making less and less of them every year. So yeah, even the people in the industry are telling us how clearly Hollywood has a problem and aren't supporting anything new. Though I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian here. While yes, it's true that there are less original movies coming out now versus 10 to 15 years ago, but the thing is, there still are new original movies coming out. I listed several in this video. They just aren't getting supported at all. So this kind of creates a vicious cycle where people aren't supporting the new ideas, so studios stop making them, which leads to people saying studios aren't making anything new. And when they do, people don't support them. And then the cycle starts all over again and it continues. continues on and on until Hollywood crumbles in on itself. And then before you know it, we're all just streaming old stuff and reminiscing about how good movies used to be. Interesting enough, at a glance, it seems like horror movies are almost immune to this when you see stuff like The Monkey and Companion doing really well this year. But honestly, you just gotta look a little deeper and you see that they also suffer from this as well, with the abundance of remakes and sequels and complete flops. So no genre is immune. But generally, horror movies are known for having cheap, small budgets, so the risk is lower than, say, a mid-sized or blockbuster-sized film. Studios like A24, Neon, and Blumhouse are actually doing quite well because of sticking to smaller budgets and very aggressive marketing. Hell, A24 has been venturing outside of the horror genre and finding success. So it goes to show it really is possible even nowadays to pitch a new original movie and people will watch it, assuming the budget is within reason and they actually market it. Sure, not every movie needs to be a smaller budget to be successful, but it greatly reduces the risk and chances of it being an actual financial success. I mean, look at Sinners for example. Despite all the great and glowing reviews and having a pretty decent opening weekend, it still has yet to make back its $90 million budget. So this is definitely on the higher end of a mid-sized budget, but it's definitely a pretty expensive film, especially for a brand new IP and a horror movie at that. But you look at other films like Black Bag and The Amateur. These are also mid-sized budget films that didn't really do that well. So maybe smaller budgets aren't a terrible idea. Instead of a $250 million remake of Snow White, they could have easily invested that money into literally over a dozen different movies. So it'll be smaller budgets, which equals less risk, and a higher chance of profits, which then will incentivize studios to make more. On paper, that sounds pretty good. Although the economics of films are always quite a mystery and hard to pin down because shooting permits, traveling, as well as actor and director fees all vary from movie to movie. And I'm no expert, so I could be greatly oversimplifying it. Though the director of Happy Death Day and Drop, Christopher Landon, recently spoke to Sean Chandler about the state of Hollywood and its obsession with remakes and sequels. But he mentioned that by sticking to smaller budgets, it makes studios more willing to fund and push his films. Because like I already stated, it helps eliminate a lot of the risk involved, because the movie is cheaper. Happy Death Day was only $5 million, and his newest film, Drop, was $11 million.
You're looking at enough to get us started. $2,184.
But movies cost millions of dollars to make.
That's after gross net deduction, profit percentage, deferment, 10% of the nut.
Of course, this isn't a guaranteed success. There are several movies with similar budgets that didn't do that well at all, but by having a smaller budget or a mid-sized budget on the lower end, increases the odds of the film actually being made. And even though smaller studios like A24, Neon, and Blumhouse have been doing this for years, it's also worth mentioning that Amazon is making announcements saying that they will release movies in theaters before putting on their streaming platform. And honestly, that's pretty good to see. So the focus and attention to release to theaters is still there, despite the fact that a lot of these movies just aren't doing that well. So I guess in summary, people aren't seeing these original movies when they come out, and so studios don't really make that many. And then people complain when there aren't any original movies coming out. Really, the only way to ensure that new IPs and franchises will actually be made is by watching these new films when they come out, and not just seeing the same slop we've been fed for years. Now, I want to end this video by saying that if you're someone who wants to see more of these entries in existing franchises, by all means, go ahead. I ain't gonna stop you. Hell, depending on what movie it is, I might be right there with you. But if you also want to see new movies, then you should probably check them out when they release, because it's really the only way we're gonna get new original movies in the future, if we actually support them. Or you don't have to, it's a free country, you can do whatever you want. Anyway, I got shit else to say, so see ya.
Yes! Oh my god. How do they make this more and more epic every time? How do they make this more and more epic every time?